Good morning and welcome. We are so happy you are worshiping with us here today at St. Simon Peter, and we welcome those who are worshiping remotely and want everyone to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Blessed be God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
And blessed be his kingdom, now and forever. Amen.
Jesus says to his disciples today, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." Now, life had been really busy for Jesus and the disciples. We read, "For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat." Now, while many of us enjoy taking breaks during the course of the day to eat our meals, I don't think of mealtime so much as leisure time, but as mandatory time to do what is necessary to take care of myself and that of my loved ones. To not have time even to grab a quick bite is to be very busy indeed, and I think all of us would say it is to be way too busy. We learn from the creation story that rest is intended to be part of the natural rhythm of life. God stays incredibly busy, being profoundly productive in the first 6 days of creation, calling into being the earth and all living plants and creatures, the sky and all the lights in it, and the winged creatures and the oceans and all that swim in it. And what God does at the end of this productive period is what God calls all of us to do as a part of the rhythm of life: rest. Now, we probably all know what it is to live at a nonstop pace. Maybe that's happening now, or maybe that happened at a time in your lives. Maybe that happened while raising the children or running a company or doing whatever it was that was necessary to get by. Life can get very, very busy, even for retired folks. Those who ignore the need to rest do so at their own peril. Now, we naturally know that rest is good for us. We know that this because every night our bodies gives us cues to wind down. We cannot sustain being in constant motion. We are not meant for it. Some folks relish the nighttime routine: dimming the lights, taking a warm bath, turning down the bed and the thermostat, quieting down, and nodding off. We exercise a profound kind of faith every night when we give ourselves over to sleep, trusting that there will be morning on the other side. The prayer said at Compline expresses this trust well. "Guide us waking, O Lord, and guard us sleeping, that awake we may watch with Christ, and asleep we may rest in peace." We entrust ourselves to God as we entrust ourselves to sleep. Now, some folks delight in the first moments of waking, as the first rays of morning light come through the window, rousing us from slumber with a sense of being rested and refreshed, ready to take on the day. Now, on the occasions when sleep is not good, a person might struggle to find anything good in the day. All is to say that we know the necessity for rest and its benefits. Just as we all need to rest and sleep during part of a 24-hour period, we also need to observe rest during a 7-day week. As I said, God established the pattern at the beginning in the ordering of the creation. Rest is commanded by God in the commandments to observe the Sabbath. And while Jesus and his disciples were out doing the work of saving the world, they too find that they need rest, which just goes to show that there is no work so important, not the creating of the world, not the saving of the world, no work so important that taking a rest from it cannot be justified. Now, in spite of everything that we know about the importance of rest, in spite of the cues our bodies give us telling us to take a rest, in spite of the commandment and the example of Jesus, sometimes we still have trouble letting go of the busyness of our lives and making room for rest. But resting is not just about taking care of our bodies. It is also about taking care of our spirits. Old Testament scholar Walter Brueggemann writes, "The observance of rest is an act of resistance against having one's life defined by one's productivity. Sabbath is not merely rest from work, but a day to renounce autonomy and self-sufficiency. Resting is about more than just getting our beauty sleep. It is somehow a way to remember that our most essential identity is not in what we do or accomplish, but rather that we have life and breath by the gift of God. When we turn our gaze to this reality and away from all the things that we are doing and perhaps accomplishing, we remember that our basic identity is as child of God. This identity comes to us as a gift and not through any of our own works. So awareness of this identity of child of God has the potential to be recreated in us again and again when we agree to take a rest from our labors. So we can see that the word recreation carries a theological meaning. To take a break from the demands of life gives God the opportunity to recreate our souls anew. And that recreational kind of rest can include things like time on the lake, playing pickleball or golf, reading a good book, laughing with friends. Have you ever thought of that as a kind of prayer? Well, it is. The idea of rest also brings me to comment on the centering prayer that some of us have been practicing or trying to practice, and our centering prayer group. Now, what I love about this form of prayer is that it is not work. That is profound to me. This form of prayer is not work, it is rest. Now, one way to describe it is resting in God or resting in God's love. Now, centering prayer may not be right for you, and that's okay. There are many ways to pray. However, when Jesus says to his disciples, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while," he is pointing to what centering prayer is all about. Centering prayer springs from the reality that God is always present to us. We don't do anything to change that. When we take time to become quiet, we are consenting to God's presence and activity. By closing our eyes, we withdraw from the busy world for a time. We rest by detaching from our activities and our thoughts. And that's where it gets hard for some of us. We don't assume in our time of quiet and withdrawal that we cease to have thoughts. It is only human to have a steady stream of thoughts going through our minds. And we might especially become aware of this when we try to get quiet. So while we don't rid our minds of thought in centering prayer, we do try to detach from them or let them go. Many people find that with some practice of 20-minute periods, their minds become quieter and more aware of God's close presence that is always there all the time. Now, some people might have a profound spiritual experience during centering prayer, but this is not really what we're going for here. We are simply resting from our mental activity and the attachments of our minds and feelings by letting them go. In this quiet and rest, we are opening ourselves and consenting to God's presence and activity in us. And many of us in this group are finding that there is something profoundly refreshing about this time of prayer. In the midst of the most important work of all, and during a time so busy that they can't even eat, guess what? My last page is missing. Isn't that funny? It's happened before, it'll happen again. So in the midst of the most important work of all, and during a time is so busy that they can't even eat, Jesus says to his disciples, "Come away with me to a deserted place, all by yourselves, and rest." There are many, many kinds of ways that we can rest. We can rest in prayer, we can rest in sleep, we can rest on the Sabbath, and we can rest during our recreational time. And all of this is an opportunity for God to give us delights that we cannot create for ourselves, but that only come through consenting to God's presence and being open and aware that God is here with us in the here and now. So take time to rest yourselves, to go away with Jesus, and know that in that quiet, that God is present and that God is ministering to you and being active in your hearts and in your minds. Amen. Amen. Ellen, you can just make your way on up here because I know you're going to make a few announcements too. Before I forget, open your hymnals to hymn number 493. That is the correct hymn number. The one in the bulletin is incorrect. It's been brought to my attention that there have been some phone texting scams that are hitting some of you all in the congregation through others in the congregation. So, I just want to remind you to be careful if you get a message. If you get a text message that says, "I need money," probably no one in this congregation, and certainly not me, is going to text you with that kind of request. So just be careful. Another announcement is that you may have seen in our announcements and in the e-net that we need oblaters. So let me tell you what an oblater is. It is the person who brings forward the bread and wine for the communion. So it's really easy to do. If you think you're going to be in church, just sign up to be an oblater. It helps us if you sign up. I mean, we can grab you, as you're coming in, but it just sort of reduces everybody's anxiety to know who's doing what in which service. So if you wouldn't mind just signing up to be an oblater, you'll have fun doing it. It's an easy job, and it's a great thing to do. So please do that. I also want to let you know that Friendship Place is coming along really well. I've made some announcements the last few weeks about we're trying to gain membership, and that is coming along. So I think you all have been doing some good work, and I appreciate that. And Ellen, you have a couple of announcements.
I do. One of the ways that COVID has interfered with our life together at St. Simon Peter is that we were not able to properly welcome our new rector, Sara-Scott. And so we would like to take the opportunity to do that next Sunday at our potluck lunch. Sara-Scott has been a blessing to us, and we all know her fairly well now, so this will be an opportunity for you to let her know how much she does mean to us all. So I hope I will see you all then. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention has just left my mind.
Let's see. It was the clothing sale.
The clothing sale. Thank you.
There's some little gremlin around here taking
so.
thoughts and sermon pages. I don't know.
Yes, the clothing sale that is spearheaded by Myra Williams, and Myra has left, I think, to go to the parish hall. This has been going on for a number of years, and we are in the process of discerning whether we're going to do this ministry because it takes many hands to make it happen. We have a sign up for this on the sign up board in the parish hall. There are a number of signatures there. We're really close to having the number of people we need to do this, and we're asking for you to sign up for a 2-hour shift sometime the week before August 21st. We'll have to make a decision on that by next Sunday. So we need those signatures. Myra Williams has spearheaded this for many years. She is very committed to it. And I encourage each one of you to go to Myra and say, Myra, tell me a story about something that's happened at the clothing sale. Myra is a treasure chest for that, and you will be glad that you asked. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, thank you, Ellen. Just to follow up on that a bit, I have heard some of those stories, and they're stories about how the generosity of this parish touches the lives of others, and that's what this clothing sale is about. It's really about repurposing things that we don't need anymore, but repurposing them in a way that really helps somebody who needs them. So yes, do ask Myra about those stories. All right, I think we are ready for our final hymn. Justin?